The day I found the for sale sign outside my own house, my heart stopped. It was the same house I had designed, painted, and paid for. Every inch built from my savings. But when I looked closer, the name on the paperwork wasn't mine. It was my sister's. My parents had sold my dream house to her. Before I continue, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, because what I did next made my parents regret ever choosing favorites. I remember standing in the driveway, my hands shaking as my mom smiled like nothing happened. "Sweetheart, don't be dramatic. You're single. Emma's starting a family. She needs it more." My dad just nodded, avoiding my eyes like a guilty man caught red-handed. That house wasn't just a building. It was the first thing I ever owned that they couldn't control. I worked 3 jobs to get it, stayed up nights painting the walls myself, but none of that mattered. To them, I was always the temporary one, the one who could adjust. Emma came out holding the keys, smirking. "I'll take good care of it, sis. Maybe you can come visit, if I'm free." Her tone was sweet poison. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. Because that's the thing about pain. It teaches you patience. So I smiled back and said quietly, "You're right, Emma, you deserve it." But deep down, I was already planning something she'd never forget. A month later, Emma moved in like she'd always belonged there. The curtains I picked, the furniture I built, even the porch swing I installed, she kept everything. My parents visited her every weekend, posting pictures online with captions like, "So proud of our girl and her beautiful home." Not once did they mention that the house used to be mine. I didn't say a word. Instead, I moved into a small apartment on the other side of town, the kind with thin walls and flickering lights. I ate instant noodles while scrolling through photos of my house. Every smile they shared in front of it cut deeper. But instead of crying, I wrote a promise on my wall. They will feel what I felt. And I meant it. See, what they didn't know was that when I built that house, I registered every design, material, and layout under my company's name. I had started my own renovation business quietly, Rylee Interiors LLC, and every inch of that house was protected under my work license. I never mentioned it because I wanted to keep my family out of my business. Now that silence had turned into my greatest weapon. 2 months later, Emma called me crying. "Rylee, the city inspector says there's an ownership conflict. They're saying part of the house belongs to your company." I pretended to sound shocked. "That's strange," I said. "Let me check my files." In reality, I already knew exactly what she was talking about. The house wasn't legally hers, or my parents'. Every renovation, every upgrade was under my brand, and according to the documents, any sale without my approval was invalid. When my parents found out, they came to my apartment. My dad slammed his hand on my table. "Rylee, fix this mess right now." "Your sister's panicking." I looked him straight in the eye. "You want me to fix your mistake? You sold something that wasn't even yours." My mom tried to soften it. "Sweetheart, you're being unreasonable. We did it for the family." "For the family?" I repeated. "You sold my dream and gave it to her." Dad's face turned red. "We thought you'd understand." "Oh, I do," I said calmly. "You just never thought I'd have the power to make you regret it." They both froze. That was the first time I'd seen fear on their faces. And that's when I knew it was time to make them feel exactly what I had felt. A week later, I filed a formal cease and desist order through my company attorney, directed to my own parents and sister. The letter stated that any unauthorized use, sale, or representation of property constructed under Rylee Interiors LLC will result in immediate legal action. Emma called me within an hour, her voice trembling. "Rylee, what is this? Are you suing me?" I kept my tone calm. "No, Emma, I'm just reclaiming what's mine. You've been living in a house that legally belongs to my business." There was silence on the line, then muffled sobs. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. That evening, my parents showed up again, furious. My dad slammed another letter on my counter. "You've gone too far. We're family." I crossed my arms. "You didn't say that when you sold the house without even telling me." Mom's eyes softened. "We made a mistake, okay? Just withdraw the complaint, please. Emma's already under enough stress." I sighed and handed her a folder. Inside were receipts, every construction expense, every purchase made under my company's name. You want the house? Fine, I said. Pay for it. They looked at the total and froze. $421,000, Emma gasped. That's impossible. It's not, I replied. That's the exact cost of the house I built, the one you sold for profit. You can keep it. Once every cent is paid back. My dad's voice shook. You're punishing your own family for money? I stared at him coldly. No. I'm teaching you that respect isn't free. For the next 3 months, I didn't hear from them. But I knew what was happening. Emma was struggling to pay the mortgage, and my parents had started selling their own furniture to help her. Word spread around town that the Miller family was drowning in debt. And honestly, I slept better than ever. Until one morning, I received an envelope in the mail, a check for $421,000. Inside was a short note in my father's handwriting. We've repaid every cent. I hope you're proud. I smiled. For the first time, I actually was. But the story didn't end there. What came next? Even I didn't expect. 3 days later, I got another letter, this time from the county property office. It stated that the ownership of the house had officially been transferred back to Rylee Interiors, LLC. At first, I thought it was an error, but when I called to confirm, the clerk said, the previous owners filed the transfer themselves. Apparently, they wanted the house back under your name. I sat there speechless. After all that drama, they'd willingly given it back. That evening, my mom showed up at my door again. No yelling this time, no attitude. Just quiet eyes and an envelope in her hand. Your father's been sick, she said softly. The stress, it got to him. We realized we lost more than a house. I hesitated. For years, I'd waited to hear something like that. An apology, a sign that they finally understood what they'd done. She handed me the envelope. Inside was an old photo of our family standing in front of the half-built house. Me, covered in sawdust, holding the blueprint I'd drawn. On the back, in my father's handwriting, were just 3 words. You earned this. I didn't cry right away. But when she left, I sat on the floor and let everything go. The anger, the resentment, the years of being treated like I was less. A week later, I went back to the house. The paint was fading, the garden was overgrown, but it was still beautiful. Mine again. I stood on the porch where my sister once posed for pictures and whispered, I built you, I lost you, and now I own you. But instead of revenge, I felt peace. I renovated the place again. This time, not for family, not for validation, but for myself. And on the front gate, I added a small sign with gold letters, Rylee's Haven. It wasn't about winning anymore. It was about finally coming home, on my terms.